Well, hello there. We have made it once again to another episode of Pickup Lines. It is the talk show in a car. And here's another person who is just an all-star, Hall of Famer, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, in San Antonio. The great Dr. Lorraine Pulido, who, among many other things, is the current head of communications at San Antonio ISD. Did I get that right?
Thank you for that introduction. I'm Director of Communications.
Okay.
Yes.
So your given birth name is Lorena, correct?
Correct, and you said it perfectly.
But you go by Lorraine.
Yes, sir. That's my nickname because not everybody says Lorena as perfectly as you do.
Well, I mean, I try. I want to do it. Listen, I've known you for a while.
Yes.
But I got to admit, I did not realize that you were not born in San Antonio.
I got here as quickly as I could.
You did, but
Yes.
you were born quite a ways away. It was the east side of Los Angeles is where you spent your early
Yes,
years?
My early years, my parents...
In the barrio?
In the
you said.
barrio, in Boyle Heights near East L.A. College. That was my backyard and the projects where I resided at the time.
How do you describe what that was like? What are your biggest memories? I know you weren't there. You were there till what, middle school?
Yes.
But what do you remember most about that time? I know you've talked about your parents were not very educated. Were there other siblings in the house?
Yes, I had two younger siblings.
Okay.
My brother Octavio, 3 years younger, and my brother Saul, 7 years younger. And we lived, a very humble life. My mom and dad sacrificed a lot so that we could go to Catholic school in East L.A. in Boyle Heights.
Really?
We went to Assumption Catholic School and then Soledad Catholic School before we moved to San Antonio because my mom's sister lived here. My dad needed to move for work. And that's how we ended up in San Antonio. And I went to Harlandale Middle School where I spent my formative years.
Yes.
All the way through Harlandale High. And then I went off to college and came back.
She went to several colleges, by the way, but I don't want to get too far ahead here.
I skipped over the colleges, didn't I?
No, well, we'll get to them here in just a little bit. But okay, so you're the oldest, East L.A. Your parents, not a lot of education, but they worked. I mean, my parents put 3 kids through private school as well. How do they sacrifice? What do they do for a living? How do they earn that tuition money?
Yeah, so both my mom and dad are in heaven now.
Yeah.
And back then, through a child's eyes, right? I could see that my dad would work really late. He helped with body and paint of the vehicles, and he actually had a certificate in fixing up crushed up cars, making them look brand new,
Okay.
painting them. But he got a certificate in that. He was an immigrant to the United States along with my mother.
Right.
My mother went to secretary school in Mexico and then became a secretary at one of the banks, Crockett Bank back then in California. And so they, it was a very low paying job, but between the two of them, I think that's how they were able to pay the tuition for me to go to Catholic school. But we lived in, very humble home. We lived in the government projects.
Really?
But they provided us so much support, love. And even though they didn't 100% have the experience of being, from the United States, they knew enough to push us to get good grades, to motivate us. My dad would give us a $1 allowance to go to the flea market on Sundays,
$1.
And then he would reward us as we got older for our grades. So I would get extra good grades because I wanted that little extra money.
A little extra money. That's amazing. So you get here to San Antonio when you're in middle school. Had you ever heard of San Antonio?
No, sir. I'd never heard of San Antonio. In fact,
were you thrilled about coming here?
I was not thrilled because when you're little, you're like, my best friend from
sure,
5th grade.
I get it.
What am I going to do? But once we got here, we adjusted quickly. My parents selected a place on the south side.
Right.
And we felt kind of like it was a replica almost of East L.A.
Okay.
As far as the culture, the community,
sure, yeah, no.
The food, the climate was a big adjustment, obviously, because it's hotter here.
Yeah. More humid, maybe?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But you settled in and you worked your way through was it Harlandale ISD, you said?
Yes.
And eventually you get to Harlandale High School. That experience for you?
It was fantastic. My teachers were the best, very loving people. Now that I look back, I'm like, oh my gosh, they were underpaid. Now we understand how teachers really deserve so much more, how they impact our lives, how they mold us and nurture us. And I'm still in touch with some of those teachers, actually. I do like a quarterly lunch with Mr. Plyler, my economics teacher from Harlandale.
Right.
We go to Luby's. Before Mr. Rocca passed away, he was my algebra teacher. I would take him out to go eat at Don Pedro's. Mr. Arevalo, also rest in peace. We would get together at Don Pedro's. He was my history teacher. I still keep in touch with Ms. Galindo, my government teacher. About to have lunch with Mr. Trujillo, who is my English teacher. These teachers went above and beyond for us. I'm sure there's a lot of people in San Antonio that can claim the same thing for the precious teachers that raised them.
Right.
And I feel like I want to thank them however I can, even though I'm 55 years old now. They still remember me, and I still love and remember them.
You're going to have to show me your ID here. I don't believe that, by the way.
Thank you.
Now, and everything you said is correct and true, obviously. And on its own, I mean, yeah, that would be a challenge enough and an accomplishment enough.
Yeah.
But to be frank, you were a teen mother.
Yes.
You got pregnant while you were at Harlandale.
Yes, sir. I was pregnant as a junior in high school.
And I had read, by the way, because you can probably get a sense how important education is to Lorraine. I call her Dr. Lorraine. You had perfect attendance. You're pregnant. You go to school, and I'm paraphrasing. They sent you home, or you needed a note.
Yes. So I had my daughter the first week of my senior year in high school.
Okay.
And I didn't want to miss any classes because I had dual college credit classes. I had AP honors classes, and I didn't want to miss school. So luckily, I had my daughter on a Saturday, and then I stayed in the hospital Sunday, and then Monday was a holiday, Labor Day holiday. So I went back to school on Tuesday.
You're kidding me.
I went back to school on
Oh,
Tuesday.
Lorraine.
And after first or second class, the teacher says, "Wait, what are you doing here? Didn't you just have a baby? Like, I heard you had a baby." I'm like, "Yes, I had my baby." "Well, you can't be here. You need to rest." I said, "But I can't. I have all these classes. I have all this homework." "No, Lorraine, I'm sorry. You need a doctor's note to come back." So I went to the doctor, and the doctor said, "You have to rest at least 2 days." So I went back, and I was so frustrated because I had perfect attendance
Yeah.
all the way up until senior year, and I could have kept it if they hadn't sent me home to get a little bit of rest.
Goodness gracious. I'm exhausted just listening to that. Unbelievable stuff. So, needless to say, that happens. And I mean, I can only imagine what that must have been like, how that changed your world,
It did.
how that was received at home and everything. You were quoted as saying at the time that people told you said, "People told me I would never make it to lower my expectations." You remember
Yes, I would hear
being
that.
told that?
I was told that by several people. Not my teachers. My teachers were the
Right.
most loving, supportive, but there was other people, well-meaning people, family members, some friends that just thought, "Hey, why don't you just do homeschool?" And I said, "Wait, how am I going to do my honors classes in homeschool?" "Well, you can't." So I said, "No, I need to get my honors classes because
Yeah, there was no virtual
yeah.
learning back then, or the
No.
technology to do
No.
online classes back
No, and I knew I wanted to go to an Ivy League in spite of having a daughter. I did get married to her father.
then. Correct.
And I still had my dreams. And I think it helped that I was so young and inexperienced. I didn't know like how hard it was going to be to be a mom and go to college, especially in Ivy League in Philadelphia. That I think that helped me to be a little bit gullible. That helped me to continue to have high standards and high expectations in spite of what people were saying. And in fact, it kind of inspired me to want to do it even more because I wanted to prove them wrong.
Right. And you most certainly did. You went to Penn.
Yes, University of Pennsylvania is one of the 8 Ivy Leagues in the Northeast. Very selective school. Very blessed to have been accepted.
Why Ivy League? You mentioned you that was a goal. Why
Yes.
why not stay close to home? Why go all the way to Pennsylvania?
So there were several reasons. Number one, that was always my dream. All the programs that I'd been in high school, Upward Bound program,
Mhm.
prep program, honors classes, dual college credit at Palo Alto, it was kind of instilled in us, to look further away
Right.
from San Antonio. Not that there's not great schools here, because obviously there are, but to get out of our comfort zones, right?
Right.
Especially as Southsiders used to just be, overprotected by our parents and by our culture.
Yeah.
So I had my sights set on an Ivy League for a long time. My daughter's father was going to University of Pennsylvania. And so if we wanted to be able to make it
Uh-huh.
as a family and help take care of our daughter, then it was going to be ideal for both of us to be at University of Pennsylvania. But here's the thing. It's an Ivy League, and they're not just going to accept you because you have a spouse there. You still have to get good grades, good SAT scores, good recommendations, kick butt in your essay. So I think I did impress them with all of the above, especially my essay. I'm sure there was no other essay that was submitted that said, "Hey, I'm a teen mom and my daughter will be 1 by the time I go to your university." I'm sure that caught their attention. I'm sure it helped a lot. And so I was blessed to go to Penn. They have married student housing there. So her dad and I
Wow,
took turns
okay.
taking classes.
Yeah, you would have to tweak your
Yeah.
schedule so that somebody
Yeah.
was home.
Yes.
And that one could go to class.
Until she went to daycare when she was 3, when we could, pay a little to pay for the daycare.
Unbelievable. Okay. If we were to stop right here, I think that would be sufficient, and that would be, but there are more degrees and more stops and many more stories to tell. We're going to take a quick break here on Pickup Lines. Come back with Dr. Lorraine Pulido. I just need a break. This is unbelievable. We'll be back. Back with the amazing Dr. Lorraine Pulido here, who, again, finished high school at Harlandale, went to Penn, an Ivy League college, and you weren't satisfied with just one degree or one Ivy League school for that matter, because you ultimately went to Columbia as well.
Yes, sir, that is correct. After I graduated from Penn, I took a couple of years of working there
Yeah.
at the university and trying to figure out what I wanted to do, law school or graduate school, public policy or journalism, which journalism was always in my heart ever since high school. And I applied for all of those schools and I left it in the Lord's hands. And I said, Dear Lord, whatever acceptance letter arrives in the mail first, that's where
You're
I'm going to go.
kidding.
So I left it I made a promise to the Lord because it was very tough to decide. I took the LSAT and I took the GRE and I applied to a lot of really good schools in all those three areas. And the first acceptance letter, and back then you knew because it was a fat envelope in
Yeah.
the mail that had all the information.
Right.
And it was the acceptance letter to Columbia Journalism School, which is the #1 school of journalism in the United States. And I said, Dear Lord, I hear you loud and clear. You want me to go to Columbia Journalism School. And I accepted the challenge.
When you were a little girl, though, did you have aspirations for what you wanted to do with your career?
I wanted to be a teacher because I loved my teachers in
Yeah.
elementary school. And then I wanted to go to East L.A. College because that was what was in my backyard in the projects that I lived. Maravilla projects in East L.A., there was East L.A. College, and I would see these kids playing tennis.
Right.
And I said, I want to go to that school. That was my dream because that's what I knew.
Yeah.
And it's a great school.
Yeah.
You know, who knew that I would serve in Alamo Community College's district?
Oh, yes.
That influence still stayed with me.
And we'll get to that as well in just a while because the boards, you've been on a number of boards and a number of other titles, and you're in the San Antonio Women's Hall of Fame. You're in the Harlandale ISD Hall of Fame.
And when I received that honor of Harlandale ISD Hall of Fame, I told everyone, I said, if I were to pass away the day of tomorrow, and if they could just put on my gravestone, here's Lorraine, an inductee of the Harlandale ISD Hall of Fame, I would be perfectly content with that being my legacy, that I hopefully made HISD and my teachers and classmates proud that I made it into this Hall of Fame. To me, that's a very big honor, a big privilege.
Was that the day when you essentially respectfully shut all of those doubters down?
Yes, absolutely. That's when I felt, okay, I proved everybody wrong. The ones that thought that I couldn't make it. The ones that said, why don't you just go to homeschool? Why don't you just quit while you're ahead?
Lower your expectations.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, good for you. That's fantastic stuff. All right, so you're moving your way through the Ivy League schools, Penn, Columbia, and then at some point you came back to San Antonio.
Yes, I sure did.
You were always going to come back?
I anticipated coming back not that quickly though, but the cost of living in New York was so high.
Yes.
And one needs to pay their dues in journalism. But because, I have my daughter,
Right.
I needed to reassess what was best for my family. And by that time, I was already divorced by the time I got my master's degree. So I was a single mom. And so it took a village to help me raise my daughter up in the Northeast before I returned home. And I started working in TV. In fact, I actually worked for KSAT.
He worked here at KSAT 12.
A temporary gig as an associate producer for the morning shift. And then I went to go work for KVDA Telemundo.
Yes.
I had a paid internship at Channel 4. And so I had all these different gigs, worked for La Prensa, bilingual newspapers.
Sure.
It was a tough market. And all of a sudden, I had to think about it again. Well, I can't really go work in the Valley or in a smaller market because I am a single mother, unlike everybody else.
Correct.
Otherwise, I would have worked, anywhere, paying my dues like I rightfully should have. But I had a different family situation, so I had to reassess. I see an ad in the Express News. Back there used to be job ads in
Classifieds.
the newspaper.
Yeah,
Yes.
I remember, sure.
And there was a position for public relations coordinator at University Health System. And the announcement, everything that it required is what I felt I had. I was able to convince them to hire me, and that was my first entree into the public relations world.
And the rest is history.
The rest
so
is
you didn't want to
history.
be an anchor person or a reporter?
I wanted to be an anchor person. I wanted to be a reporter, but I just couldn't go get the experience at the smaller markets because I was a single mother, Ernie.
Okay.
But
I get it. That's tough. That's tough. Especially the morning show, too. That
Yes.
shift, that's tough.
It was tough. And the pay, you have to work your way
You're
up
not
to-
getting rich, especially at the beginning, that's for
Yes.
sure.
Not everybody is born, an anchor like you,
Stop.
So, but, I did get to use my journalism degree teaching journalism. I started teaching journalism at Harlandale Lake.
Are you still teaching?
I'm still teaching. I teach at A&M right now, public relations. But I taught journalism at the Lake, and I was the advisor for their school paper. So I still use my journalism degree.
Because you've taught at a number of institutions here,
Yes.
thousands of kids, right?
I've taught a lot of students.
20-something years?
Yes, some of them are journalists, some of them are in PR, some of them pursued other careers. But I have been teaching for 25 years at the collegiate level part-time.
You've been here in San Antonio ever since?
I've been here in San Antonio. Yeah, when we moved, in 1982 we moved here.
Okay.
And then I moved away for college and then came back. I was away for about 7 years in college and working.
I would imagine you've been recruited, or have you ever flirted with leaving here?
I have flirted with leaving here, but this is where my heart is, Ernie.
Yeah.
And the way that I'm able to fulfill that desire to be elsewhere is through my travels. I love visiting other countries, visiting other states.
Yeah.
That's my passion, travel.
And the airplane always comes back here to San
Yes,
Antonio.
it always returns.
My gosh, that's fantastic stuff. I don't know how, and you have 2 kids, right?
I have 2 kids. My daughter, Amanda, is 38, and my son is 22. I had a second marriage
Yes.
that didn't work out, but I have my beautiful son, Jared.
Yes.
I did pursue my PhD while my son was young. And so I'm blessed to have a PhD from Our Lady Lake University.
You had to get a degree here in San Antonio.
It was
obviously.
my dream. It was my dream to receive a PhD.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
because my late mother, God bless her, she got one too later in
Wonderful.
life. But I know, and I know what it. I mean, that's a commitment. I can't even fathom that commitment.
It was a commitment, but it was the dream was bigger than the exhaustion and the sweat equity and the
Yes.
amount that it costs, because there's a lot of money to earn your PhD. But I felt that it was a calling that I had. I didn't need the PhD to practice public relations,
Right.
but it was something I needed to do to finally rest assured that I had made up for all the sacrifices that my parents made as immigrants. Both of them were alive to witness me receiving the PhD.
In 2010, correct?
Yes, sir.
At Our Lady of the Lake,
Yes.
which is unbelievable. And I was there the day that my mother got hers and everything, and it's just a special time.
Yes.
You lost your parents. Was it both of them was it to heart conditions?
Yes, sir. I don't know how you know that, but yes, they both passed away. My dad had a heart attack and my mom had a heart attack and a stroke 2 years after. So because of that, I make sure that I go to the cardiologist at least once a year just to make sure everything is ticking the way it should, because some of this does, run genetically.
Yeah.
It's important for us to be proactive. Maybe my parents didn't always have the best health care or insurance.
Right.
I'm blessed to have that. So I have no reason not to go get checked
Yeah.
and make sure I do my best, to ensure that I avoid, those types of
Indeed,
ailments.
because we need you around for many, many more decades to come. And we're going to keep her around for a few more minutes here. We're going to take a quick break. More pickup lines coming up with Dr. Lorraine Pulido. How impressive is she? Coming up. Don't go away. All right, a few more minutes here with Dr. Lorraine Pulido, Lorena Pulido, if you will, ISD Director of Communications. But as you're learning here, which so much more, you might be, if I were to have your resume right here, you might be the most overqualified PR professional in Bexar County right now.
That is a big compliment. I always have so much to learn, and every opportunity I learn something, I promise you, in PR and elsewhere.
Because everything we've gone through, and I know you've made stops, was it via City of San Antonio? You were on the board of Brooks.
Yes.
Alamo Colleges you touched on.
Yes.
What is it about those positions, especially the board leadership positions, that you enjoy so much?
That's how I'm able to really feel fulfilled.
Yeah.
So public relations is my career. That's the industry that I am very passionate about. But I have other interests, and I'm able to fulfill those through public service.
Yeah.
I'm the first female chair of the Brooks board.
Right.
And Brooks is on the south side of San Antonio. So I feel that I'm giving back to the community that raised me.
Yes.
And I feel like I am that Southsider on the board that is the voice of, where we were, where
Right.
we are, where we're going. And if you go to visit Brooks, you will be so impressed with the economic development, the
Sure.
residential, the commercial, education, everything that's available in the Brooks area. And to feel like I might be a small part of that is super fulfilling. Alamo Colleges. I'm blessed to be on my 5th year of a 6-year term.
Okay.
I represent all the way from the South San area up to Alamo Ranch,
Yeah.
District 4 Alamo Colleges. Education is what I credit my success to. So I want to help other students, whether they are non-traditional or traditional, whether they're parenting children of their own and working, juggling a lot of different responsibilities. I come from that world, so I feel that I can represent them and make sure their voices are heard, especially during the pandemic, Ernie,
Yeah.
when everyone was facing so much uncertainty.
Right.
I was blessed to serve on the Alamo Colleges board and help make sure that they had the resources needed to be able to have wraparound services, mental health, food, clothing, help with tuition.
Yeah.
There were so many things that we were able to do to help them. And it just brings me so much joy. And I'm so proud of my service on the Alamo Colleges board.
It's such an amazing story where you just think about where you came from. I mean, the east side of LA, the barrio and everything, teen mom, and all of that, to Ivy League school, and you're literally a Hall of Famer. What, 2 times over? I mean, do you ever just stop and let it all soak in and kind of just pat yourself on the back?
I do two things. I give all the glory to the Lord,
Mm-hmm.
and I pay it forward.
Okay.
I pay it forward, Ernie, because none of that could have happened without the love and support of so many people.
Right.
If there were a supporting cast, I mean, it would be at least 1,000 people that somehow helped me get through college, helped me get those jobs, those
Yeah.
internships, that helped me get the additional degrees, that supported me for what I do now. So it would be all the glory to God, and then just pay it forward so that other people can also feel capable of doing anything, regardless of the limitations that sometimes others try to put on you.
Right. So you're obviously a goal-oriented, and you set a goal, you achieve it, you reach for it, you achieve it. You still hopefully have many more years to go. What else is on your life list, bucket list? What do you want to accomplish still?
I think that I live every day in a way that if I were to pass away tomorrow, that I would have no regrets and I would already feel fulfilled. So right now I feel 100% fulfilled, but I do look ahead to see, okay, where else can I serve?
Yeah.
When my term is over at Brooks, what is going to be my next area of service? I have a lot of interest. I love transportation. Obviously, I was with VIA for
You
10
were at
years.
VIA, sure.
I would welcome the opportunity to serve on the VIA board sometime in the future, in another 10 years, 12 years, who knows
So
when.
rest is not an option.
Rest is not an option because I just have so much to give, right?
I'm not complaining. I'm just saying.
I feel like I have so much to give. And, VIA is of interest to me. University Health System, since I worked there.
Yes.
And I actually had my child at University Hospital. My daughter Amanda was born there.
There you go.
When I was a teen mom. And the fact that I worked there, I know a lot about who they serve. They serve the indigent in South Texas.
Right.
And so I feel like, okay, maybe in the future I could serve on an advisory committee or on a board. But right now I am just so happy to give back in the way that I am through Alamo Colleges, Brooks, teaching at A&M San Antonio part-time, and serving SAISD. Which is a familia. I've been there for 1 year. We have almost 80 schools and so many students that we're able to impact in a positive way, a lot of phenomenal programs. So these are all things that are in my heart that I wake up looking forward to doing what I do. And I think that's important for everybody watching your program, that make sure that you reassess where you are right now and look at what else you can do. Even if you can't necessarily change jobs, can you serve on a board or on a committee? There's so many entities out there that need your help and your passion.
Right. Yeah. But, I love the phrase, I've heard it, and I've interviewed plenty of people in this chair that they bet on themselves. When others thought you were not going to make it or you weren't going to amount to much, you bet on yourself, I think, more than once. And it's just remarkable to me.
Thank you. I think if you can't bet on yourself, then you can't bet on others.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the oxygen mask analogy in the airplane.
Yeah.
When they say if there was something to happen, make sure you put the oxygen mask on yourself before putting it on others, right?
Right.
So that's what I try to remember. I'm no good to my family and to my friends and comadres and compadres and my job if I don't make sure to put myself for self-care, right? And that's my travel that I told you about.
Okay.
That's my self-care right
Very
there.
good. I know you're a deep woman of faith and everything, but through life, through the downs and the challenges, did you ever feel like you questioned any of that, or just you allowed yourself a moment to maybe doubt a little bit?
Yes, I think a moment that comes to mind immediately is when I found out that I was pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like all my dreams were just shattered. I was 16 at the time that I discovered I was pregnant. And I was in all these honors classes. I was a cheerleader. I was class vice president, student council. I had all these plans. And suddenly there I am, pregnant. That wasn't part of the plan. But I did have that moment of what's going to become of me. But I prayed, and I had a lot of support from my school counselors and my friends and my mom and dad and my boyfriend's mom and dad, who I ended up marrying. So it took a village to get me out of that. But I did have a lot of doubt of where I was going, because back then you never heard about teen moms going out and getting college degrees. So I was like, oh my gosh.
The Ivy League degrees, for that matter.
So I thought, am I going to have to quit school?
Yeah.
Am I going to have to, make my part-time job a full-time job as a birthday party hostess at Pistol Pete's Pizza? I didn't know much.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
And that's where I learned PR, actually, through being a birthday party hostess.
Really?
Looking back, everything I ever needed to know about PR, I learned in that job as a 16-year-old. But I had so much support, Ernie, and I can't emphasize that enough.
Yeah.
Just when you think that things can't be overcome, don't be afraid to ask for help.
Yep.
People want you to do well, whether it's mental health related or in any other occasion, financial help. If you don't ask for help, you're not going to get it.
Yeah. Yeah. We're going to have to do another episode at some point. This is just, it's too much, Lorraine. It's too much. But you know, I love you to death, and I'm so thrilled for you. And I know you've got so many more exciting, so many more amazing things to do.
Thank you.
The great Dr. Lorraine, she's Dr. Lorraine to me. Dr. Lorena Pulido. You might be the first Hall of Famer I've ever had here. I don't know. I have to double check.
I'm very blessed that it's the Harlandale ISD Hall of Fame and the Women's Hall of Fame.
Good for you. Keep up the great work.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Very good. There's another episode of Pickup Lines in the Books. This is going to be a tough act to follow here, but we'll do it again very soon. Silly. You never know. I just speak the truth. You never know who will be here, but the stories are unbelievable.
My life is a novella. I'm sorry,
That's true, but it's real. Until next time, I'm Ernie Zuniga. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.